So this court case has been going on 4 years now, and there's also a final order that the other party has stipulated in agreement with me, and that was ratified in October of 2019. If I back up a little further, after months of domestic violence and pretty major abuse of all types, in November of 2018, Mr. Jennings sent me a text and said, I'm out. I am on a plane. Actually, he was already in wherever he was. He has still never told me where he went, and said, I'm not telling you when I'm coming back. I am not telling you who I'm going to be with. Good luck. And I was left in Victor, Idaho, with a 7-month-old. And in that particular month, we actually had like a foot of snow, and it was 4 degrees. He ultimately returned unannounced 10 days later. I was working with 2 different domestic violence centers at that point, and I was not at home, and he had the locks changed behind my back without informing me. He drained our joint checking account by $1,300 and then closed it, and then took the car that he had given me. He took that away. He literally left me. I didn't even have a diaper for my child. There was witnesses. There was a police report. The police were there. There was a significant amount I think there was probably 6 witnesses there that day that, physically witnessed Mr. Jennings' actions. And then he took me to court the next week for custody and child support, and he was making about $100,000 a year at this point. And in his petition, he said that his child support should be $4 a month. Some pretty other outrageous things in that petition. When I filed that same month, he got a live-in girlfriend. This is just weeks. Not even weeks. This is like 3 weeks after he ditched me and my baby. He got a live-in girlfriend who began selling all of my belongings on Facebook, and they hightailed it onto Seattle, Washington. He also took a trip to Phoenix. There's so many details of this story. It's a story of, there's really 2 tracks to this: court corruption and violation of rights, and then the second track is major domestic violence and behaviors of a sociopath and a narcissist. That's really what we're dealing with.
Sarah, you said that there was a police report filed. Was he ever charged with domestic abuse or anything like that?
No, he has not been charged. I'm currently looking at some of those records right now to see what has been, falsified at this point. He's quite clever at getting out of things. The local DA, I went to her last year and filed criminal complaints again on the abuser, Mr. Jennings. She declined to prosecute at that moment due to him living out of the state. I'm still working on rectifying that. I have, me and my son are a victim in this matter. I've worked with over 5 domestic violence centers and continue to do so. People are very, very worried about our safety from a professional domestic violence standpoint, and has used what is called post separation abuse, and has used the court system as a way to continue to bully me and abuse me. I don't have an attorney. My focus has been on raising my child and being a stay-at-home mother while being a full-time single mother, and I've been able to do that with doing jobs that I can do with my son in tow, such as, childcare and house pet sitting, and started a bakery out of my kitchen. And so we are dealing with a very dishonorable person and all court actors in this situation. Everything that they have filed is fraudulent. He is lying under penalty of perjury. There was a trial, a 3-day trial back in August of 2021. Even the judge impeached him twice at that point for his blatant perjury under oath. And all these documents that have been filed by him and his attorney of record are fraudulent as well.
So, Sarah, if that's the case, why hasn't he been charged with any of this, and why did the judge give him full custody?
I am asking that, he violated my due process rights, so he didn't even grant me due process, so that is court corruption.
You're saying the judge didn't? Judge Colson?
Correct. He ordered this on an ex parte motion based on lies, and did not afford me any due process, zero due process. He has also violated my ADA rights, American with Disabilities Act rights, and we are working on with the Department of Justice at that point. I have also filed a federal lawsuit against many of these people. Colson is being added to the lawsuit. He does not even have a valid oath of office. His oath of office is invalid. There's no.
How so?
He's the only signature on the oath on this piece of paper. Nobody witnessed it. It's not notarized. It's not filed with the Secretary of State. It's literally just a blank sheet of paper with his signature on it. It could be anybody's signature. We don't, that's an invalid oath of office. And when, my due process rights have been repeatedly been violated for years at this point, and when your due process rights are violated, the court loses jurisdiction. On top of that, on the February 9th hearing that we had, I brought up the topic of jurisdiction again, and he said, okay, I'm gonna seek advisement for jurisdiction. Now, everything should have stopped at that point. You can't proceed without jurisdiction, and instead they have continued to proceed, illegally and unlawfully strip me of my parental rights without any due process, without any evidence, without a trial by a jury of my peers, without witnesses. It's literally just, a piece of paper alleging.
Wasn't there a trial last summer?
There was a trial last August, 5 weeks post-trial. The judge at that point, Jason David Walker, came to us about 5 weeks after that trial and said, oh, by the way, the recording equipment malfunctioned, and a mistrial was declared.
So then did they hold another trial?
A trial was scheduled for this past January. That was vacated because 2 judges recused themselves from the case. Another, if you have looked on the court docket, you would see that a trial is scheduled for the end of March. So I'm not sure what's happening with that at this point.
So how did it get to yesterday where you were supposed to surrender your son?
That is an unlawful order because he doesn't have a valid oath of office. He doesn't have jurisdiction. The Constitution says all men are created equal. He doesn't have the power to tell me when and where I cannot parent. That I have a fundamental constitutional liberty to raise my child. We are being hunted down by corruption, by greed, by wickedness and evil. And I have a duty as my son's God-given mother to protect him. And Cleve Colson asked me on Thursday at that hearing, violation after violation. There's another little part I'll mention here in a second, but he kept saying, Miss Stanley, does that suit you? And I said, no, it does not suit me. You need my consent to go forward. And this is what we the people need to realize. Courts don't have power over you. They need to have your consent to go forward. And your people's rights are being stolen right and left. And I am standing up for my rights, and I'm being retaliated against that. The other thing is at 1:11 p.m. on Thursday, February 24th, Colson closed the courtroom. He signed it at 1:11, closed the courtroom. The court hearing via Zoom was at 1:30, and that is against judicial code of conduct. That is against the Constitution. He made a serious error. You have to have the public courtroom in the interest of justice, and it's also a violation of the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, and the 14th Amendment. So he violated that even before the court hearing got started. It is very clear that Colson doesn't understand law. And all my documents that I have filed into this case are all law-based. Another thing, if you aren't aware of this, is that judges in this country are still active bar members, which is a title of nobility, and that is against the Constitution. You cannot be a judge and have an active title of nobility. So just by that right there alone, he doesn't have any authority or power to tell me when I can go to the bathroom, what I can eat, and what I do with my child. That is my God-given right to parent my child the way I see fit. And so these orders, in quotes, they're not actual orders. Orders are not law. They're not constitutional. And these orders...
What would you say about the father of the child and his God-given right to father the child?
He is a perpetrator, and my child is not safe with him. And that will, he is in the federal lawsuit right now. That's pending it's still active in federal court in Idaho.
But if you're saying that judges don't have the authority, how would a federal judge have the authority in this federal lawsuit to do anything?
Because it's a Title 42, Section 1983, Section 1985 for deprivation under color of law, my rights.
Okay. What does that mean?
That means it is a crime, Section 242, Title 42, I believe. It is a crime to violate somebody's rights, and the punishment for that is it varies from life in federal prison or death. And my rights have been violated so badly, and there's proof of that. And so that is why a lawsuit has been filed against judges, a custody evaluator.
But Sarah, you just said that the court system doesn't have the right to tell you what to do. So why are you using the court system to go after all these people? You're talking about your God-given rights. It's my God-given rights to have my civil rights, and this is specifically under, if you just look it up, 42 U.S. Code 1983, civil action for deprivation of rights. My rights have been trying to be, stolen from me, and so using the federal court system is one way to hold the perpetrators accountable. Family court is not a court recognized in the Constitution. So, okay. So it sounds like. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you dig more into it and start learning about law and the Constitution and laws, it will become very, very interesting to you on what's really happening. Not only in our area but also countrywide.
So, would you share custody of your son under any conditions at this point with your former boyfriend?
Are you assuming he was my former boyfriend, or where did you get that from?
Well, you had a child with him. I guess I should say with the child's father. Mr.
Jennings needs to, there are certain requirements because he is a perpetrator. There are certain requirements that he will have to do in order to ensure me, his mother, that, my child will be safe in his care. Based on his actions and based on his extensive history of domestic violence, it is not in the experts' opinions of the work they have done with violent men You can look up Barry Goldstein as a really good reference for this, and how abusive, quote unquote, fathers are, using the fake family court system to continue the abuse of mothers. Barry Goldstein is a great resource. Lundy Bancroft is another really good resource that you can look up on. Lundy, Lundy, Bancroft, Bancroft, and they have guidelines on how to effectively have custody in a domestic violence perpetrator with the father.
Sarah, if you're that passionate, why haven't you hired a good attorney to go after him and to fight for your rights?
Because I don't have $1 million. I am a single, full-time, solo parent and mother raising my child while doing this, and no attorney will do this work pro bono. I don't have $1 million. If somebody has $1 million to lend me that can get it back, then that's great. But I am not in that area of financial wealth.
So I talking with your pastor, it sounds like you're not going to say where you are, which is obviously you're right. But is there anything, and it sounds like you're not going to comply with what Judge Colson ordered yesterday. So are you just going to wait it out, or do you plan to show up for the jury trial in March? What's next for you?
There's no jury trial. That's what people should realize, is that family court is unconstitutional because they don't do jury trials, and that is another constitutional violation of my rights. We are granted a jury trial. It is my right as his, God-given mother, as a Christian, as somebody who believes in God and stands up for our rights, and his God-given mother, that I, based on all of the actions from all of the court actors, not only the abuser himself, what good father does this? I have, this quote unquote father has barely chosen to see the child in 4 years. And what good father would ever remove the would go this hard to remove a child from his loving Christian mother, who I have worked extremely hard to stay home with my child 24/7, 365 for almost 4 years. That alone should give people pause that this person is dangerous in many different ways, but that he is so vindictive for whatever reason that he is willing to make fraudulent statements, not only in court, but now here in open public, and that's defamation. I have not done one wrong thing. I do not consent. You need my consent. What's the opposite of not consent? It's rape. And that is what the court system is. It's a quote unquote legal rape system. They need my consent per the Constitution to continue with what they are doing. And they do not have my consent. I have said that on record time and time again. There's many avenues to end this peacefully, such as my minister has already stated in the news. This is a private matter between me and Mr. Jennings. I don't parent with the government. The judge is not my co-parent. The judge does not have power and authority over me per the Constitution. He is a magistrate. He is a commissioner. He is a public servant. He works for me. He works for you. And if you have children and you are ever in a situation like this when the government is hunting you down for something you have never even done, I would hope that you would realize that we are in deep, deep trouble when the government believes they can just, take your God-given rights away just by a piece of paper, when there's been no due process, when all rights have been, violated. I even filed a motion, ex parte motion yesterday to uphold my rights. And what did Cleve Colson do? He denied that motion to uphold and honor my rights. That is despicable. That is not an honorable, quote unquote, judge. that is not even an honorable person. He is dishonoring his whatever oath he even, allegedly took. You absolutely uphold and honor somebody's rights. And for him to deny that is all the evidence I need to win in federal court for sure.
Okay. Well, is there anything that you want to add, Sarah?
That we're not missing. This is a witch hunt. This is the media. The public is being lied and deceived to. They're being defrauded. This is, what I have shared with you is the truth. And the truth needs to get out. They need to cease and desist their action against me and my son. And domestic violence needs to be stopped. It absolutely needs to be stopped. They have, escalated it to this obscene level for no reason other than just this is what abusers do. And if you dig more into what abusers do, I highly recommend it and suggest it. But Lundy Bancroft and Barry Goldstein will show you exactly what these abusive males do to really good mothers who are just trying to protect their babies.
Are you willing to stay hidden forever?
I will protect my son and myself and fight for my rights for not only me, but for all the other rights that have been stolen from thousands of other healthy parents out there. And I'm fighting for your rights too. You might not be in a court situation right now, but you might be in the future. And I would hope that you would understand what our rights are and how the family court system is. It is a for-profit court system. So if you don't know that, each courthouse is a for-profit corporation. I can send you the Dun and Bradstreet number of Teton County Court. Happy to do that. I can send you the active bar members for Colson and David Hunt and Jason David Walker. But this is a for-profit corporation. They are the largest human child trafficking sector in the states. And so that is very important to know. This is not somebody protecting children. This is somebody who is intentionally is harming me and my son. They have absolutely no evidence against me. There's not one shred of evidence. No evidence. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I literally go to church, raise my son, provide for us, and that's my crime. That's not a crime. That is called hate crime. You can't use my beliefs against me, and that's what they're doing.